welcome back to Learn Synthesis with VCV Rack. I'm your host, Dr. Lawrence W. Moore. This is Series 1, Episode 11. And in this episode, we're going to look at polyphony, making polyphonic synthesizers, which in VCV Rack is actually pretty easy, but there's a number of things to point out and to take a look at that gives you some extra functionality on different things. And we're going to see how it all handles velocity and stuff like that. Alrighty, so let's get to it. Okay, so I set up a fairly standard synthesizer along the lines of what we've been making thus far. I got 3 triangle waves here, and this one is tuned to middle C, 12 o'clock position, and this one is up the octave, and this one is multiplied by 3, so it's up an octave and a natural fifth above the fundamental. So it's kind of like harmonics, although the strengths are a little strong. Sounds like this. We would normally be hearing some artifacts on a triangle wave type sound. But I did put in process here, and now that I'm using slew in the 12 o'clock position, my velocity values coming through here and going to the 3 CV inputs on channels 1, 2, 3 on the mixer are basically leveling things off well, in going from note to note, that you don't hear it swooping from note to note, but sorry, I hit with a little excess velocity there a little bit, but you don't hear artifacts. Also, when you're doing that, since I'm doing kind of like glisshandos where I'm going from note to note, and rarely lifting or releasing the note before hitting the next note, it goes straight from sustain level to sustain level to sustain level. The first one gets the attack peak, but the rest don't. You know, that's just an effect of monophonic synthesizer. Well, that's one of the things we're going to look at. How do we make this polyphonic? Now, in physical Eurorack, unless you had dedicated polyphonic modules, you would actually be using a separate set of modules. Like all these modules would be literally like duplicated for each extra pitch that you want to play. But we are dealing with software here, and so fortunately, the modules do have a polyphonic capability as well as monophonic. So let me zoom in here. What you want to do when you want to go polyphonic is right-click on your MIDI to CV module and go down here where you can set the number of notes in your polyphony. It's set to monophonic by default, and that's why when we play 2 notes at the same time, like I'm about to play a D and then an A above the D, you hear the D disappear as it goes to the A. It plays the last note pressed. Now, if I set this to 3, notice the cables got a little bit thicker. That's indicating that they're now polyphonic cables. And you don't need to worry about the rest of your modules here. You right-click on them, you see you don't even get the option about polyphony. It's almost as if the MIDI to CV module, when it's switched to polyphonic mode, tells all these modules to be polyphonic as well. And so now I can play a D, F sharp, and A. And we hear all three. Now if I go and play a fourth note, you heard the first note, the lower D, disappeared once again. Because I set it to 3-note polyphony, so it only has 3 different pitches that it can play. Also, let's pay attention to the velocity a little bit here. It is responding to velocity because we do have our velocity hooked up through process and its slew output to the 3 channels, the 3 channel CV inlets here on the mixer. So it is responding to velocity. I'm going to hit D at a soft velocity. Now it does have an attack on it because I do have attack here and the sustain is much lower. Maybe let's make the sustain a little bit higher. All right, let's hit it softer. I'm trying to hit it soft, please believe me. Let's also, actually, I'm going to reduce the sustain here so we can listen to see if we're hearing attack on all 3 notes. Definitely on the first, on the second, on the third. And they are responding to velocity individually, because if I hit D soft, now I'm going to hit F sharp harder. I'm going to hit A even harder. The balance is basically in line with the velocity. Now, in VCV Rack in general, the velocity response, in my experience, seems to be less so than in other software and other instruments. I mean, you do hear it, you do hear a difference, but it seems to be a little bit less, and probably because of the attack spike here also kind of can throw that perception off. Although the velocity is kind of governing the audio level here, and then the envelope is governing all 3 oscillators overall. So it is as if this kind of has more of a governing control over the velocity as well. So I don't know if the attack is actually being affected by the velocity here. So that is something that something to consider. But yeah, in any case, you can hear in the sustain we are getting velocity response on the separate notes. So that's good. Let's look at over here the polyphonic mode. Now here we have rotate, reuse, and reset. There's also MPE at the bottom, but that's MIDI polyphonic expression. And you wouldn't really want to use that unless you had a keyboard controller that is an MPE controller, where basically multiple channels of MIDI out carry all sorts of different controller messages, giving all these different kinds of expression controls that wouldn't normally fit on just one channel of MIDI. So you only use that if you're using a controller that is MPE. So anyway, it looks like to begin with, we are on rotate. And then we can try out reset and reuse. But let's just like listen to the rotate and visualize it if we can. There's a module called VIZ, which is for visualizing multiple channels. And there's 16 maximum. So we can take, I want to test this out, that if it would work with gate as well. I tried it before with volts per octave, so I was able to see polyphony through that. See, the cable got thick. And let's see if we can visualize it with gate being the information sent to this. It should, because gate signifies note on and note off. Now you see it lit up on 2, now on 3. 1, 2, 3. That's what rotate does. Each note pressed rotates to the next one in the number of polyphonic notes that you are allowing yourself to have. And so it'll continue to rotate to each one. Now when you hold one down, well, let's do 1 so it's easier to see. 1, 2, 3. Now when I play a 4th note, we basically what happened is 1 basically relit again, although you don't really, I didn't see it flicker or anything. But basically that's what happened, is 1 got stolen, or, it's called note stealing. It got taken away from our polyphony so that the 4th note, the D up the octave, could take its place. Now let's see what happens when we go to reuse. I'm going to play a note here. All right, it started at 2. And I play a note again, it started at 2 again. It's going to keep using 2 until we play more notes. Then I'll use 3. Then I'll take 1 spot. Now if I hit D up the octave now, we once again lose the first note that we played, and it takes its place. So let's see where we are in our reuse. Okay, it's on 3 because we started on 2. And if I do this, okay, now it should be on 1. No, it's still on 3. Okay, I guess maybe if we overload it again. Are we on 1 now? Yeah. So yeah, so basically reuse is like, it's going to keep using whatever number in the polyphony order it's on until it can't, because there's another simultaneous note, and so forth. And then it'll move to the next one and steal whatever the first note that was played when you play the 4th one, since we have 3-note polyphony here. So those are things probably to know when you're using polyphony in a different way other than this. In the way of where you just want to be able to play chords and stuff on your keyboard, just know that in both of these modes, you're going to hear the same result. When you go above your polyphony count, it's going to take away the first one that was left. It'll maintain like the last 2 in the case of 3-note polyphony, and 4-note polyphony. If you play a 5th note, the first one will go away and it'll maintain 2, 3, 4, 5, So that's how that works. Now I did notice though, when you go to this mode here, Reset. Trying to get there. Oh boy. There we go. Reset. Let's see what note it gives us to start. It'll always reset back to 1. So here I'm going to play like 4 notes, overload it. It'll always start at 1 again. But you know what? Listen to that. That low D is still there. I'm literally playing 6 notes now, and the first one is still there. I did not see 4, 5, and 6 light up here. So I'm not exactly sure what it's doing there, but you're not losing notes. You know, just to make it real clear, I'm going to play a low D. And then let's play 1, 2, 3. Still there. You see what I mean? Don't know exactly what's happening, but it doesn't lose it. I don't know if it shoves it into another channel or what, but you don't lose notes. So that might be a way to go when you kind of know the polyphony that you're going to be using, like 4-note polyphony. And if you accidentally play a 5th, you don't have to worry about it losing the first one and so forth. But it's usually good practice to set the polyphony for as many as you really believe you're going to need. You know, 8 is a common polyphony to use because a lot of times you're not going to be playing more than 8 notes. You only have 10 fingers, so that's another option to go with. But if you use sustain or a sustain pedal, you know, you can definitely stack things up more. Well, it gives you 16. But the more polyphony you have, the more CPU usage is going to happen there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave this hooked up, but I'm going to go down to 1 oscillator here and explore this a little bit more. Well, I want to test one other thing out first because I didn't try this before. Now that we're polyphonic, do we need process? Now, let's say we still want velocity response, so I'm going to hook up velocity to the individual CV inputs here, but I'm not going to use process. I still haven't gotten this down yet. So now our 3 oscillators are going to have the same velocity fed to each one. So all 3 combination of pitches in per note are receiving velocity. Okay, so let's play some notes and see what happens. I'm playing 4 notes there, but I'm good because I have it on that reset mode. Now, I'm holding down notes, and when I play notes individually like this, I'm hearing the attack. But like if you play a note and then it's kind of weird. Sometimes you don't hear the attack. You don't hear the envelope reinitialize. Yeah, I did when I lifted up there. But sometimes, like when you're holding down the notes and you're above the polyphony, you don't hear the gate reinitialize the envelope, because I assume we're on that reset mode, and as soon as we've maxed out our polyphony, then it doesn't reinitialize the gate all the time, but sometimes it does. Like I'm going to hold 3 notes. We heard it once there. When I played one note, it did it. The rest of the time, it didn't. And so, yeah, reset. I guess it's good to be aware of that. That sometimes in that reset mode, it's not going to reinitialize your envelope. Sometimes if you're going above your polyphony count. Now, with process gone there, I was hearing a little bit of what do you call it? Artifacts. Like if I hold down notes, I heard one little one there. Like when I'm doing glissandos, I do hear it. So it looks like process is still good to use when you're doing velocity in polyphonic mode. That's one thing I wanted to test out there and just see. But now let's look at some other things here. I didn't mean to open you up. Actually, here, I'm going to go down to one oscillator. And actually, we're going to delete these as well. And I'm going to look at some stuff here. Okay, so we have this oscillator hooked up. Let's put an envelope out. Yeah, let's have an envelope so the note just doesn't play forever. And I'm going to just use VCA. I'm simplifying things because I want to look at something. Now that we're in a polyphonic mode, the reason why this VCA has a thick bar there is because it is also sorry if I stop in mid-sentence. I have a habit of doing that when I'm trying to connect it. Now, I'm not going to hook this up to the audio. Let's first of all try the rotate mode. Now, we're not hearing anything, and of course that's because we're not hooked up to audio. But I wanted to see our VCA. Gate needs to be hooked up. Do it from here since it's already hooked up to Viz below. Okay, so no velocity control, but we have an envelope. So you see the attack spike and it reduces down. Okay, note 2, note 3. Now let me play a 4th one. I did not see I'm holding these down. Now when I play the 4th note, I don't see the velocity spike. It's kind of like taking the note and not reinitializing the envelope. So if you really want to hear your envelope on every note, the idea is try not to go above your polyphony count, because you won't see it. But you see, just being in polyphonic mode here is telling other modules to be polyphonic as well. So that's why you see separate signal indicators on here. But let's try rotate and see what happens there. Now, oh no, this is reuse. Sorry, we just did rotate. Reuse is starting at 1. Yeah, same thing down here. 2, 3. And I play a 4th note. No velocity, no attack spike there. Now I release them, and we're starting at 1 again. And now we're starting at 3. It'll be hard to keep track of that, but if you have some sort of instrument design in mind, that could be useful for other things. For example, we are in a polyphonic mode, and then I'm going to do is slide these over here. Let's put in 2 more oscillators. Maybe 3 more oscillators. Oh, well, that's still an oscillator. Slide you guys over. This is another thing you can do. It's kind of interesting. ECO, and let's make them the same type of oscillator. It looks prettier. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we got 4 oscillators. What I'm going to do is I want a mixer. Mix these oscillators. Okay. So we'll hook 1 up to channel 1. 2 up to channel 2. 3 to 3, and 4 to 4. Okay. Now we are going to have our envelope here. Govern the CV of the whole mixer. All right. If you put it on just this one, then the envelope will only be on oscillator 1. We want it on all 4 oscillators. We're actually, we want to go into this? Why not? Let's go into this so we can visualize stuff too. Oh, wait a minute. Ooh. Yep, this is audio, goes in there. We're not going to put any CV control over it, and then we'll go out here. Okay. I'm going to slide things over 1 more, or easier way of doing that would be to slide you over this way. We're going to put in here a split. Now, in the sequencer, step sequencer episode, we used the opposite of this, which is the merge, where individual outlets, gate outlets from the step sequencer we fed in different inlets here, and then fed this into an envelope gate so that we were able to basically make a polyphonic outlet. I guess it's when you go from a polyphonic outlet that it makes the module you go to respond in polyphonic mode. But what we're going to do here, instead of, when is this hooked up to? This one here. I'm going to send my volts per octave to here. And then I am going to hook up outlet 1 to here. Now this is a monophonic cable, because splits a polyphonic cable into monophonic. Now I'm hooking up 4 oscillators. And I'm going to put different waveforms in each. I'm doing the wrong thing. I click and initialize that. This is the dial for that. So we go to triangle. Actually, in this one, how about we go square? This one I'll do triangle. This one I already set back the sign. And here this one can be sawtooth. Okay, now I do realize I'm still on 3-note polyphony. So really, it still says 3 here, even though I have 4 hooked up. But let's hear this. Now we can hook. Okay, hold on a moment here. We have this hooked up properly. Gates hooked up to here. You are responding. Controlling the mixer and output from the mixer. Going in here. Now, let me do this. Maybe it doesn't like the fact that there's no CV control over it here. Am I still on the right? No. Nope, that wasn't it. So let me see here. I'm going to turn this down. Do a little signal tracing here. Are we getting outputs from our oscillator? The way we can do that, take oscillator 1, hook it up straight here. Yep, we are getting output from our oscillator. Come on, work with me, will ya? So the oscillators are fine. So the signal's getting here. Our gate is hooked up here properly from the MIDI. So node on, node off should be triggering the envelope. Let me see something. So they're going into the mixer. Output from the mixer. Go. All right, we do get it. So, but yeah, this should be hooked up here to control these. And out loud. because we do want envelope control over it. Now this is the audio output from the mixer going in here. Our gate is hooked up properly here. Nothing's changed there. Now we are hearing all three of those oscillators at once. Oh, I gotta press a key on the keyboard to actually hear it when you got an envelope gate. Oh, for crying out loud. Wait. Okay, I'm hearing one note there. Like I'm pressing D, nothing. F sharp, nothing. A. See here. 2, 3, 1 works. That's interesting. Let's try. Are we still in reset? Let's go to reset. C, F sharp, A. I'm hearing all three oscillators when I press any key now. So, even though this volts per oct is going in here polyphonically, it's coming out all three of these. It's not based on whether 1, 2, or 3 is being initialized here. All three are coming out in this mode. Okay, that's funky and fun. All right, let's try something else here, though. Let's use this. Over here. Oh, I know what I was trying to do. I was trying to get different oscillators on different notes. I think I know what I need to do, though. I'm going to hook these back up. I think we need to put the merge in. Hold on. Something's not hooked up right here. 1, 2, 3, and then 4. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, merge them together. So we go into 1, 2, 3, 4, then come out of here into just one channel of the mixer. I tried to hook it up to an output for the channel. There we go. Now let's try it. We're hearing different oscillators on different notes now. I'm going to start with D. That's a sine wave. There's our square. That's a triangle. The triangle is going to sound comparatively hollow. Give it a little bit more. And then 4. I'm on 3-note polyphony. If I go to 4, then I should be able to get it. There we go. So we got all 4 oscillators on different notes. The thing is, we had to merge them back together here because the way this handles polyphony is different than the mixer. The mixer was just taking all 4 in, and it was sustaining some of them while playing new ones, and so it was just hard to distinguish between them. Now let's see if we can see here, visualize things a bit. Our VCA hold on here. Our VCA is giving us one overall signal, probably because of the mixer. The mixer seems to be polyphonic in, monophonic out in a way. Let's try this. We're not going to get velocity response, but we're experimenting. All right, so our output audio from merge, I'm going to go in here. Sorry about that. And then we're going to take our gate output from the envelope generator and hook it there. Now we're okay. I am sorry, turned it up too much there. Plus, they don't have velocity control now, so. So you can see the 4 channels separately and everything. So one needs to be a little bit careful with mixer, I guess, in doing some things like this. Because of the way it handles things, because it is a mixer. It has 4 channels of input and then its output. But it was working polyphonically because we were hearing all the different notes that were going into it. It's just doing some experiments here to see how things work out, but that's the main principles behind split and merge. Now let's try a different mode here and see what we get. We were on reset. It always goes back to 1. Oh yeah, let's check that. We have our 4-note limit. Let me see what happens when we do a 5th note. it's using the fourth one again. I didn't hear it go back to sine or anything like that. The tone was still the fourth one. So that's what reset does. It seems to use when you go above the polyphony, it seems to reuse the fourth one. You don't lose it. You just get more notes in that channel. Interesting. Interesting indeed. Okay, so let's go back to reuse. Now we should lose notes. Yeah, it's going in order again. Of course, I guess we could see that from Viz here. If we had Viz up here, basically we're going to hear the oscillator for the wave shape for the oscillator in order of which notes are being maintained. Now it's starting on 2 there. Remember, we're on reuse, that weird one. That it's going to keep using 2 until it gets overloaded, then it'll bump it along to 3 or something like that. Now we should start at 3 or 1. So if you're doing something like that where you're kind of like going through different oscillators in some sort of sequence, you can be using the sequencer for that. If you're doing something like that, then the mode that you use would make a big difference about how it uses things in order. Of course, you could always set your polyphony to the amount of steps in your sequencer and then really have full control over the sequence of different wave shapes that you're using. And then finally, we'll go back to rotate. That's kind of cool. So it's rotating. I'm playing the same note, so we're going to hear the same note, but it's rotating through the oscillators. And then if I play a triad over and over, since I'm just using 3 notes, we should hear it shift. What waveforms on which note. So, you can be imaginative with this stuff and with some pretty cool things. Plus, it is pretty simple to just take an instrument you like and just pop it into polyphonic mode, and all of a sudden you're playing more than one note at a time without having to duplicate all your modules. So anyway, there's some polyphony for you, and hopefully you found this useful. If so, please hit the like button, leave a comment. If you have questions, also leave a comment, and I'll endeavor my best to answer them. Also, subscribe to the channel, please, if you haven't already. I hope to keep making content like this for many, many moons to come. In fact, Series 2 will be coming up soon. I'm going to have one more topic in Series 1, and then in Series 2, I am going to explore some modules that are beyond the VCV collection, and also make some new and different instruments and stuff like that. Time to start making some music happen. All right, folks, thank you for joining me. Until next time, take care and stay free.